Assalamu alaikum. I am Amina Haider, lecturer, Institute of Business Studies. I am here with yet another screencast of Introduction to Business course. This is lecture number 15, and the topic that we are going to discuss is company promoters and their functions. Let's move towards the topics. These are the topics that we are going to discuss today. It includes the role of promoter in joint stock company, the kinds of promoter, the functions performed by a promoter, liability of a promoter, the rights of a promoter, and in the end, we will discuss classification of companies. Moving towards our very first topic, that is the role of promoters. So, who is a promoter? Promoter is the one who undertakes to form a company with reference to a given objective and to set it going, and who takes the necessary steps to accomplish that purpose. The term promoter is is a term of business and it is not of law. It has not been defined anywhere in the Company Ordinance 1984, but a number of judicial decisions have attempted to explain it. So let's get to know what a promoter is. In a very simple word, a promoter is the person who assembles the men who bring together the money and the materials into a going concern. So, generally, a promoter is any person who complies with the necessary formalities of a company registration. He finds the directors and shareholders for the new company, uh, acquires business asset for use by the company, and then he also negotiate business contract on behalf of the company. So the next topic we will discuss it kinds of promoters. We would discuss three types of promoter. Number one is professional promoter, two is occasional promoters, and company specific promoters. So, professional promoters, as the name depicts, these are the person who form or they float the company as their profession. They play a very important role to establish the company, and once all the procedures are completed, they hand over the company to the shareholders. Although there are not a lot of professional promoters of a company in Pakistan, it is quite common in countries like UK and Germany, etc. Occasional promoters are those persons who undertake to form a company occasionally. They do not stay or work in the company regularly. Uh, they dodge between the companies and take the promotion work on a floating basis. And then we have company specific promoters. Uh, these are the promoters who are associated with the company. Professional promoters and occasional promoters generally retire after the company is floated, but the company specific promoters float the company for their own self interest and take active part for a successful operation. Then we have functions of a promoter. So the very first function of a promoter is that they brings up the idea. The promoter conceives an idea for setting up a business. So this is the most important step is to have an idea, and the promoter must know how to execute it. One must know what the business is all about, and the promoter has to look for opportunities in the field, and then they have to grab those opportunities. The next function is carry out all the investigation. The promoter makes preliminary investigation and ensures about the future prospect of the business. The promoter creates a proper, well planned structure of a company management and its execution. Investigation, the promoter takes the expert opinion along with the cost structure, and a cost structure is sought and then it is analyzed. So he has to make all the investigation related with the demand of the product, availability of resources like labor, raw material, etc. He has to do all the investigation related to it and how he is going to execute the idea. Prepares various documents. There are three essential documents. Promoter prepares these essential documents and get the company incorporated. These essential documents are memorandum of association, article of association, and prospectus. The promoter in a company has to essentially keep all the legal and officially safe for incorporation and further activities. The next is the promoter raises required finances. So he raises the required finances and get the company going. Brings together various person for the business. He brings together various person who agree to associate with him and share the business responsibility. Along with the with bringing together various persons, he has to fulfill the responsibility uh, for application fulfillment and registration of the company name with the Security and Exchange Commission. After this, the promoters take the appointments from all the professionals to carry out various tasks and contracts. Liabilities of a promoter: to disclose secret profits. A promoter cannot be allowed to make any secret profit. If it is found that in any particular transaction of the company he has obtained a secret profit for himself, he will be bound to refund the same to the company. The second point is liability on statutory mistakes. So if he make mistakes or fraud in the procedures conducted for the formation of a company, he is not allowed to derive a profit from the sale of his own property to the company unless and until all material facts are disclosed. If he contracts to sell his own property to the company without making a full disclosure, the company may either stop the sale or affirm the contract and recover the profit made out of it by the promoter. A promoter who wishes to sell his own property to the company must make a full disclosure of his interest. Rights of a promoter: the right of indemnity. When more than one person act as the promoter of the company, one promoter can claim against another promoter for the compensation and for the damages paid by him. Promoters are severally and jointly liable for any untrue statement given in the prospectus and for the secret profits. Right to receive the legitimate preliminary expenses. A promoter is entitled to receive the legitimate preliminary expenses which he has incurred in the process of formation of the company. That might include the cost of advertisements, etc. The right to receive the preliminary expense is not a contractual right, but it depends upon the discretion of the directors of the company. The claim for the expenses should be supported by vouchers. The third point is right to receive the remuneration. A promoter has no right against the company for his remuneration unless there is a contract to that effect. In some cases, articles of the company provided for the directors paying a specified amount to the promoters for their service. But this does not give the promoter any of the contractual right to sue the company. This is like simply an authority vested in the directors of the company. Classification of companies. So, on the basis of incorporation, company can be classified into three categories: the chartered company, the statutory company, and the registered company. Chartered company, established under a charter or a special order of a monarch or a king or a queen. It may be better understood as the company born out of the authorization of the sovereign or the crown. This was the mode of incorporation which was followed earlier to the registration under the Companies Act 1984. A charter is granted by the Crown to the people requesting to form a corporate or a company. Example is that of East India Company that was formed by means of charter passed by the then Crown of England. The authorization given by the sovereign gives legal existence to these company by means of the body of the charter. But this mode of incorporation is no more recognized in any Companies Act to incorporate new companies. The next is statutory company, incorporated by a special act of the central or state legislature. As the name suggests, these are the companies that are formed by means of special statute passed by the parliament or state legislature. Example is like State Bank of Pakistan. The statutory origin of these companies provide power to such companies to be bound by their own statutes. That is, whenever there is any dispute between a statute under which these companies were formed and the Companies Act 1984, the statutes being special legislation persist over the general law of Companies Act 1984. The third category is that of registered company. Incorporated under the Companies Act passed by the government. So these registered companies are those companies that are registered uh, under the Companies Act, Companies Ordinance 1984. These companies are also provided with a certificate of incorporation by the registrar of the company. This is the reference book that I followed for today's lecture. That's all for today. Thank you for listening to this online lecture.